Hitmonchan was arguably the worst fighting type Pokemon in the original generation of the game. Like, I would take Mankey and Machop over this Pokemon 100% of the time because its stats did not match up to its moveset. We can see that typically a Hitmonchan comes in with 105 base attack, but only 35 base special. The other stats are really nothing to write home about, and yet it infamously is the only fighting type Pokemon in Gen 1 that learns all of the elemental punches via level up. And the fact that its special stat is so bad basically meant it couldn't even use these moves effectively, and just like Hitmonlee that we did a couple weeks ago, it couldn't survive against anything that used special attacks. So it was basically just a trash Pokemon. But today we're going to see if we can change that. Because in this one, we're going to give its Gen 2 special defense stat 110 base special and see how much better it would have been in Generation 1. When we did this with a Hitmonlee, we found that it was a massive improvement. Hitmonlee went from having to use things like Double Team to beat the game on minimum battles to being able to just legitimately beat the game without any broken TMs, and Hitmonchan's probably not going to be that good, but it's still going to get a 420 base stat total and finally be able to use the elemental punches for what they were always meant to be. But will this actually work out, or will Hitmonchan still be belittled by everyone in the Pokemon community? Let's get into it and find out. So as we start a brand new game, we are going to run on my standard settings, animations on. We've got 0 DVs on this Pokemon. Trust me, max DVs wouldn't help us that much in the early game anyway, but let's see how much better this Pokemon turns out to be. So Professor Oak's gonna find this random Hitmonchan outside of Pallet Town. He's gonna assume that it's pretty trash, so he's just gonna give it away right away. But little did he know that this one came from Johto, and it happens to be a little better than all the rest. And we're going to just go ahead and start proving that right here on his grandson. He's pretty sure that we're going to lose to his grandson because, I mean, come on, it's a Hitmonchan. But no, we know Comet Punch. And Comet Punch gets a critical hit on the first turn, then misses the second turn, and ends up taking 4 turns to knock that Pokemon out. Still, we do manage to get through the rival, and we're able to move on in the game. Now, Hitmonchan does start with Comet Punch as a normal type move that can hit up to 5 times. The problem is it's not very strong, and it's not a same type move, so it doesn't really give us any advantage here in the early game. Agility is also really nice to have when you get later because you can outspeed opponents, but early on it's not going to do much for us. Most Pokemon are fairly slow anyway, and the ones that are not slower than us are also just not going to be very easy to get through. So this is probably not going to work out, and it's going to take a ton of levels before we actually get any level up moves. We have to get all the way to level 33 just to learn Fire Punch. Basically in Gen 1, I would say that is the worst of the elemental punches because fire isn't very good against most opponents, and we're not going to get there until at least the mid game. So we're going to have to grind this entire early game section just with the Comet Punch and Agility combo, and that could turn out to be pretty tough. So here against the bug catcher in Viridian Forest, he is required. We're going to use Comet Punch, and we're going to see that a 5-hit Comet Punch did about a third. So this is going to take a lot of hits to knock this Pokemon out. Now, we do manage to win, fortunately. It would be pretty embarrassing for us to lose to the very first Caterpie, but still, it's not really what we wanted to see. The fact that Caterpie took so many turns to knock out really gives me no confidence coming into the Brock fight. But still, I'm going to go into Brock once on minimum battles just to see what it looks like. I expect to get completely destroyed here, and we're going to do a ton of grinding, but let's at least just see how far off we actually are. So first up against the Geodude, we already outspeed, so there's no reason to use agility, and Comet Punch is doing 1 damage per hit. So with 3 hits, we did 3 damage there. At best, if we got 5 hit ranges every time, this would be a 6-hit KO, and we can see he did 7 damage to us with Tackle. So he's knocking us out in 4 hits. and we're taking at least 6 turns to knock this Pokemon out, assuming we got perfect luck. This fight isn't happening. And that's why we need to really talk about the Brock fight in a lot of these runs. The fact of the matter is, when you're a solo runner in Gen 1, Brock is effectively the final boss of the game. In fact, I would argue that if you watch any solo runner who does speed-based solo challenges, you could simply watch their Brock fight and then jump straight to the end of the video. However, if they struggled on Brock, their Pokemon's getting a really bad time. If they had an easy time on Brock, their Pokemon's getting a really good time. That's basically the end of the discussion. And it's just because Brock doesn't really give you anything to work with. Most Pokemon don't have good movesets at this point in the game, so they really just can't get through that fight. And the ones that can are also generally of types that are pretty good in the full game solo run anyway, so they're going to just be really good for the rest of the run as well. And this whole issue is really exemplified by our Hitmonchan, a Pokemon that, sure, later on we could get moves that would be pretty good and would allow us to get through a lot of opponents, especially with this higher special stat, but because it doesn't have any moves that are good against rock types in the early game, we're just going to be here grinding for a very long time. Now, in the early game, there aren't that many optional trainers available. One that is available, of course, is the Rival 1A fight. So let's go ahead and take him on. He's going to lead off with a Spearow, of course, that knows Peck that's super effective, but we get a nice range there to just knock that Pokemon out. And Eevee, fortunately, due to the fact that we have 105 base attack, we do enough damage to get through opponents like the Rival as long as they're not resisting our moves. Now, there aren't that many available trainers here in the early game. There are effectively, outside of the Rival 1A fight, 3 optional bug catchers, 1 optional Lass, and then there is the Light Years Junior trainer. After that, if you can't manage to get through Brock after fighting those trainers, you're basically stuck then just grinding against wild Pokemon, or alternatively, you can blackout grind, basically intentionally losing over and over again to the same trainer in order to just get a little extra experience. And in fact, that's probably what I'm going to end up doing here. I'm at level 11. I'm going to try Brock one more time just to see what kind of range we get and how survivable we are. But if we fail, the strategy is actually going to be to blackout grind against this Light Years Junior trainer down here, because beating up his Diglett over and over again is going to be more consistent and faster than fighting a bunch of wild Pokemon. But first, let's check the range against Brock now that we're at a higher level. Against the Geodude, I'm going to, of course, go for Comet Punch. We're still doing 1 damage per hit of this move. The difference is that he's now only doing 5 damage to us when he hits us with Tackle, as opposed to 7 damage that he was doing before. That being said, he's still gonna knock us out way before we could ever manage to knock this Geodude out, so we're going to have to grind more levels. So with that, let's just get into this Light Years Junior trainer fight, and I'm gonna just go back to Brock every time I hit a damage rounding threshold. That's any level that ends in 0, 3, 5, or 8. I'm gonna go back to Brock and just try him one more time, but I expect that we're probably gonna be around level 18, 20 before we even have a reasonable shot. Fortunately, this is the one spot where agility is useful. We can simply spam agility over and over again until we get knocked out by the Sandshrew in order to be able to just feint and get that experience. And with all that said about Brock, it's worth noting that Hitmonchan isn't even the worst Pokemon to have against Brock. We at least have decent-ish defense and a pretty good attack stat, and we have a move that hits multiple times. So in theory, we should get through a lot faster than Pokemon that are stuck with just like Pound or Tackle on their moveset, but it's still going to be a massive grind. We're already at 13, almost 14 minutes in this one, and 13 to 14 minutes is enough time that you would basically just kill a Pokemon's chances of ever placing good on a tier list for any speed-based solo challenge runner out there. So here at level 15, we're actually getting some really good ranges against the Geodude, and Comet Punch was doing 2 damage per hit, so we actually managed to get through the first Pokemon. Onto Onix, we're already faster, so we're just gonna go Comet Punch, and here, once again, we're doing 2 damage per hit. Once he uses Bide, we'll simply use Agility until he releases energy, and then we're just kind of hoping the Comet Punches will hit. The problem, of course, is that this move is not super accurate. So if we just miss a bunch, we might run out of PP and have to just try to stall out till we can use struggle. It's probably not going to happen. And sure enough, we have him down to 5 HP when we've run out of Comet Punches, and we're only on 10 HP remaining, so we're probably not going to be able to use up 22 agilities in time to take him down. And that was very, very close though, so I'm simply going to keep the XP. Let's go and fight against the Light Years Junior Trainer one more time and just knock him out this time, and then start grinding against Brock until we can finally win. Fortunately, at this point, the Light Years Junior Trainer is a complete joke for Hitmonchan, and that means that we can simply go back to the Brock fight. And at this point, as long as we get through Geodude, we're just going to grind this one out until we finally manage to win. Here at level 16, we're actually getting pretty close if we can just manage to land the Comet Punches. Even when he uses Bite, I don't think we even care anymore, and we just get the range to finally knock him out. But that took 19 minutes and 35 seconds. On top of that, we had to take 21 optional battles and 3 resets there. I only reset on the attempts that I took against Brock where it was clear we couldn't even beat the Geodude. And yeah, and that's kind of what we expected here with Hitmonchan. It just doesn't have anything good for the Brock section. And now it's going to go into the next section kind of overpowered and over-leveled. We're going to get Mega Punch, and that should help an awful lot with our consistency getting through opponents. Now, I will be avoiding any TMs that are on my kind of generic broken TMs list. So, of course, Bide is a move that we're never going to use. Same with things like Double Team, Rest, Mimic Substitute, Toxic. We just don't really want to use those moves because they're not very interesting. And fortunately, we just simply punch all of those Pokemon down as we get to level 18. We have made it to Mount Moon, where we're going to get arguably the best TM for our Pokemon for quite a while, which is, of course, the Mega Punch TM. It's in theory the best move that is on our level up learn set, at least normally, but here with the higher special, I would actually argue the elemental punches are probably better, but it also has the advantage that here in the early game, it's going to not have so much randomness with the amount of damage that it deals when it hits. So we might be just one-shotting some Pokemon here for a minute. There's certainly no better place to test it out than here on the Super Nerd, who thinks that Lord Helix is better than Lord Dome. We're just gonna go ahead and Mega Punch his Grimer and still not get a one-hit KO. Still, we do knock it out the next turn. Mega Punch makes quick work of Voltorb, and then we can Mega Punch here on the Coughing and then miss the second one, but the third one does the job. Now, we could have gone for the Badge Boost glitch there as we pick up Lord Dome. It's going to tell us, become overpowered, use the Badge Boost glitch. We may have to do that in this fight. Against Jesse and James, I'm simply going to lead off with Agility first. We get wrapped by the Ekans, but we're just going to use a few of these agilities and then just Mega Punch to one-shot there. Unfortunately, we leveled up here on the Meowth, but we still one-shot that Pokemon, and we can get a nice 2-hit KO there on the Coughing, even without Badge Boost. It's perfectly fine. And we have made it to Cerulean City. Now, I really want to know how much better this higher special stat is for this Pokemon, so I'm going to go in and try Misty one time just to see if we're survivable enough. And unlike Hitmonlee, we're not using Double Kick, so we don't have a move that's resisted by the Starmie. We can try to set up Agility and go for Mega Punch. Maybe we win. We're also at a much higher level since we had to grind so much, so I think we have reasonable odds here, but let's find out. So first up against Misty's Staryu, I'm actually going to set up Agility here so that I'm going to outspeed the rest of the fight. Then Mega Punch appears to be a 2-hit KO. She uses an X defend. That's perfectly fine with us. We get to level 20 right here on the Starmie. We hit first with a critical hit Mega Punch, taking it down nearly to half health. And then it gets a critical hit Bubble Beam on us. But she follows with an X defend, and that gives us all that we needed to beat Misty in 24 minutes and 13 seconds. No additional optional battles, no additional resets. We were simply able to get through that fight. And that's pretty nice to see, because the additional special definitely helped us be more survivable there. And really, that's all that we've gotten out of our higher special stats so far in this run, is just being able to survive that Bubble Beam that definitely would have killed a normal Hitmonchan. Hitmonchan, on the other hand, is a little bit stronger and deserves a little more respect put on its name. You know, don't just treat it like the cute little, Chan over over there. Give him the sun because he deserves it. But now we have to fight our rival. Let's just see how this actually goes. So first up, the Spearow we one-shot with a Mega Punch. Sandshrew comes out. We are going to get a 2-hit range on that Pokemon, but still very nice. I'm going to Agility here just to make sure that I'm faster than everything. Let's one-punch that Rattata, and let's punch an Eevee. Didn't quite one-punch that one. We are not Saitama, guys. There's a reason I did not name this Pokemon Saitama. We are not strong enough to just start one-punching things. But now we can make our way across the Nugget Bridge, where I don't expect us to have any trouble until we get to that trainer that has an Onix. I'm going to be very interested to see what the ranges look like there, because we don't really have any strong moves that we can learn in this section of the game, at least not for a little while. Now, Mega Punch does miss a lot, so these fights take a little bit longer than you'd like just because of accuracy, but still, they're not really hard by any means. They're just a matter of using Mega Punch 2 or 3 times rather than using it one time to knock everything out. But now against the Hiker with his Onix, I want to see what the ranges look like here. Mega Punch did 8 damage here, so this is technically going to be a 6-hit KO if that range holds up. So I actually think this is a good spot to use the Badge Boost glitch. We can set up 3 agilities to increase our attack stat just so that we do a bit more damage. That's going to help us get this Pokemon down in 4 hits rather than 6, so you can argue that it wasn't really worth it, but still, we did manage to get through, and with accuracy being an issue, I think it's worth it to make the range a little bit better in that fight. Now, I'm routing to fight against Bush Boy here rather than the Hiker down below him. I know that if I fight the Hiker, I could get this guy to come out far enough that I could just simply go back there and get Seismic Toss. I will come back for that TM because that's gonna be the only way that we can hit ghosts. So we are going to need it, but for now, I'm going to just walk past it. We'll come back when we get cut. Instead, we can come fight against the Oddish Lass, where we're going to get some nice, easy one-hit KOs, and then we can go check in on Billy Boy. And now Bill is basically going to say, like, dude, I can't even take you seriously. You're running a Hitmonchan. He's going to go back in the closet. We have to teleport him back to tell him, no, this is the Gen 2 Hitmonchan, and when we see you in Gen 2 later, we will tell you in Critique all about it. For now, he doesn't believe us, so we're going to have to come back in a couple years when they release Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal in order to actually convince him that Hitmonchan is any good. So instead, we will come and fight this innocent bystander with his Machop, the clearly superior fighting type Pokemon, because without Mega Punch, we'd definitely be taking a ton of turns here. And even then, we miss. I've tried to use Comet Punch just to knock it out quickly and save PP, and yeah, that didn't work. Drowsy does go down though, so we do manage to win that fight. So it's on to the SSN and rival number 3, where normally I would advocate against taking any optional battles, but I'm going to take one. I am in fact going to get Body Slam. This Pokemon does not have a wide enough move pool overall that I think we can wait for anything else. Doesn't learn Hyper Beam or something in the late game, so honestly, Body Slam might be our best move outside of our elemental punches on this Pokemon. And since we've already taken optional battles and it's only one additional optional battle to get it, I think that this is a reasonable play. And of course, we're going to see immediate benefits from this move, given the fact that we no longer have to worry about misses unless we get Gen 1 misses. We're simply going to be able to hit our opponents and actually deal the damage that we want to deal to them. So against the rival, I'm simply going to spam Body Slam and pretty much one-hit KO all of his Pokemon. Let's see if Eevee goes down. It does not. It's a 2-hit KO, but everything else was an easy one-hitter, and we're able to get through and get access to Cut. So as bad as this Pokemon is, we still have swept the rival in every single attempt. We've never reset on anything other than Brock at this point, which is kind of interesting, I guess. Obviously, optional battles will help you do that, but still, we've gotten this one to be pretty consistent at the level that we're currently at. And I think there's no better decision now than to go fight Lieutenant Surge. We can use agility to outspeed his Raichu and then just body slam it and I think win. So as our favorite trash man sends out his rat, we're simply going to use agility, and he growled at us. Come on. come on. Here we do paralyze it with the first body slam. It goes X speed after that though, so we are slower than Raichu. When you use X speed after getting paralyzed, it recalculates your speed based on its original value, not the lower value. So yeah, here we do outspeed though, and we get a critical hit body slam, so we knock him out easily. 33 minutes, 21 seconds with me rambling about how bad this Pokemon is every 2 seconds. We still managed to beat Lieutenant Surge. 22 optional battles so far, 1 TM, 3 resets. The required battles counter got completely screwed up by fighting Brock over and over again, so that number's actually like 20 fights higher. But still, we're making progress. Let's see if we can speed this up now that we're going to be able to get through the rock tunnel, get to Celadon City, and slowly get closer to the level where we'll actually learn our elemental punches. We've got the Wrapping Last first, where we can simply one-shot all of our Pokemon because we're at such a high level. We get a Gen 1 miss though, so we actually had that Oddish survive to use Absorb on us for a turn. Clearly, Gen 1 still has to Gen 1 somewhere, but we'd rather it be on an easy fight than in a really intense fight where we get our Gen 1 miss. On average, you get about 1 or 2 Gen 1 misses per full game solo run in Gen 1, and there's just not much you can do about it. And it's here in Rock Tunnel where we're actually going to see our first psychic types of the run, because there are 2 Pokemaniacs that have Slowpokes. Confusion still does pretty decent damage to us, but we get a nice 2-hit range there with Body Slam, so we can easily progress. So now we make it to the Rock Tunnel Hiker, and unlike Hitmonlee, we're not going to be able to use any super effective moves here. So I'm actually going to set up agility intentionally here in order to boost my defense. We have a badge boost in defense and attack, and here while Body Slam's going to do less after he uses some defense curls, we're going to be more survivable against the self-destructs here. If he just self-destructs with everything though, we will lose this fight. So we really do want to paralyze this Pokemon, hopefully not have it move. And just like that, with 4 HP remaining, we actually managed to beat the Rock Tunnel Hiker on the first attempt. But given that we're at level 28 here, that's actually kind of bad. Now, of course, Seismic Toss would have helped there. I didn't pick up that TM yet. I will go back and get it here because we're definitely going to need it as we get further and further into the run. So now in Celadon City, we can get access to a couple of TMs. Now, of course, this Pokemon is the only Pokemon that learns Counter via level up, but Counter is such a terrible move in Gen 1 that we're definitely just going to skip that one. However, we can get access to Mega Kick and Submission, and while these 2 moves are generally not very good, this might actually be a run where they are worthwhile, given that Submission is our only same type move that we can learn in this run, and Mega Kick is at least stronger than Mega Punch if we ever wanted to have a stronger normal type move. Still, I'm not going to add either of those on right away. We're simply going to have them in the bag in case we have a situation where we think we need it. But until then, I'm simply going to go ahead and fight against the Rocket Hideout. Let's just get the easy levels first wherever they're available before we go worrying about Erica and other boss fights that might actually be hard. So against Jesse and James, I'm not even going to bother healing here. We're already faster than their Pokemon, and even if Body Slam isn't one-shotting, it's still going to knock them out pretty quick. So I think we can get through here. We get to level 30, we one-shot the Meowth, we just barely miss one-shotting the Ekans, so it's really not a tough fight. But before we go and fight Giovanni, I'm actually going to go and get access to Seismic Toss. It will help a lot against his rock-type Pokemon, and it should help us once we get to the ghost types in Lavender, so at this point there's no point putting this move off any longer. So we're simply going to learn Seismic Toss over Comet Punch at this point, since that is our weakest move. And let's make our way back to the Rocket Hideout to finish off the final boss. Now for this specific Giovanni fight, I think Submission might actually be worthwhile to use, but I don't think we're actually going to need it. I think that at our current level, since we're already at level 30, Seismic Toss will do enough damage to the 2 rock types, and then Body Slam is probably enough to just get us through that version. Let's see if that's actually the case though, as we come into this fight. So here, Seismic Toss is just a 2-hit KO on the Onix. It goes for Bind, which is a little annoying, but we easily get through. Now, on the Rhyhorn, this is a 3-hit KO with Seismic Toss, but we easily get through. Persian is out last. We are actually slower than this Pokemon. I'm just going to give an agility to outspeed, and then Body Slam. It growls us, it bites us, it doesn't matter. 3 hits knocks that Pokemon out as we get to level 31. and we're finally getting close to getting our first elemental punch. So once we can get that move, we might not actually need to carry Seismic Toss the whole game, something that's very different from what we had with that Hitmonlee, because we'll actually have moves that can hit ghosts in the late game. But first, we've got to get through our rival number 4. He's going to lead off with his Fearow, and I think this is a perfectly good spot to just set up all of our agilities first. Let's get super fast. And then after we've set all those up, we will just start body slamming here. We miss the one-hit KO, and it critical hit body slams us back. Now out comes the Shelter, though. We can one-shot that Pokemon. Vulpix never had a chance. Sandshrew, also a one-hitter. And finally, the Eevee goes down in a single hit. So we get through that whole fight incredibly easily after that critical hit body slam from that Fearow. We had nothing to worry about. But now it's time for the wannabe Agathas in here. They're just going to use a couple Ghastlies. Fortunately, Seismic Toss does hit ghosts, and these are going to be 2-hit KOs at this current level. If this were Gen 2 onward, we would be a little bit worried, but fortunately Gen 1 managed to allow fighting types to at least use Seismic Toss to hit ghosts. So now against the Ghost Marowak at the end of this section, I'm just going to spam 3 body slams. We get another Gen 1 miss with body slam. Are you kidding me? But we did manage to knock that Pokemon out without any major issues. And now at the top of the tower, it's time to take on Jesse and James, the penultimate fight against these guys. I'm going to set up all of the agilities first so that we get the badge boosts. And of course, they immediately growl against us. That was not what we wanted to see, and I didn't heal coming into this. Leer does give us another badge boost in our attack, fortunately, and we get a level up and learn Fire Punch. I'm gonna learn this over Mega Punch. Who needs Mega Punch when you got Fire Punch? Let's see how much damage we do. Not that much, and of course, Sludge knocks us out. So I think we need a heal here, and probably going for the agilities at the start of the fight was a bad strategy. I thought we wanted the badge boost, but Growl just negates all of that. So yeah, I'm just gonna go all in on attack this time, and I think we'll knock him out. So here we just body slam down the Meowth. Here against the Arbok, it's a 2-hit KO. Once again, we level up to level 33. We get Fire Punch. We'll learn that over Mega Punch. And now we'll just start Fire Punching here. Let's body slam. They do pretty similar amounts of damage, but we managed to get through with just 3 hits on the Weezing. Now that we have Fire Punch, though, I think this is a perfect time to go take on Erica's gym. This move is at least super effective, and we'll see how much better our special stat actually is. Because normally with Fire Punch, you still wouldn't be doing much damage here, given the fact that our Pokemon have good special. But in this one, we might be strong enough to make it work. So Erica leads off with Tangela. I'm simply going to go Fire Punch here, and we did very good damage. So Seismic Toss will just knock Tangela out on the next turn. Out next is the Weepinbell. Let's go for another Fire Punch. This is going to be a 2-hit KO. We easily survived the critical hit Razor Leaf though, so we're going to make it to Gloom. And here at level 34, Gloom with a critical hit is a 1-hit KO, so we win on the first attempt. 51 minutes, 20 seconds to get through Erica. Granted, we did a bunch of other stuff in the meantime, and really not too bad. We had a couple of resets due to me trying to catch a flying type, which I don't think is going to end up in the final video. And we had a reset on Jesse and James just because I didn't heal, but otherwise we're perfectly fine here. And I expect that Fire Punch is going to help a lot against Koga as well. Now, the issue against Koga in Pokemon Yellow is that he is effectively a second psychic type gym leader, and he actually uses smart AI, so there's nothing that we can do about that, but we might still be able to find a way through this fight. For now, though, I'm going to take all the random trainers that I can fight at this point in the game and get all the rare candies that are available, because pretty soon we're actually going to be able to get access to Ice Punch as well, and Ice Punch can freeze opponents. That will give us a chance in some tough battles to set up badge boosts and maybe find a way to win. Agility is of course inferior to the move Meditate that we had on our Hitmonlee, so we're not going to be able to boost up relevant stats nearly as much in this one, but still 3 badge boosts at the right time could make a big impact. But we have to get through all these psychic type trainers first. So I'm just going to use agility to make sure I outspeed things like Kadabras on these teams, and we should easily be able to get through these fights thanks to Body Slam. That being said, the second trainer just gets a critical hit Confusion that one-shots us from his Drowsy. The third time we managed to just get poisoned from the Drowsy though, and then we're able to knock out the entire team. Makes me feel pretty unconfident about taking on Koga, so I'm not going to mess with that fight right here. Let's just go ahead and do the Safari Zone just to have it done, but we're going to then route back on up to fight against rival number 5 and see if he might just be possible. If not, we're going to have to start thinking about rare candies. So here we are in Rival 5's room. Let's see if we can manage to win this fight or not. So first up, we've got a Sand Slash in front of us. I'm actually going to use Agility, thinking more about opponents that are later on in this fight, also to boost our stats. Granted, it used 2 sand attacks on us, and then we critical hit with Body Slam, so we didn't even get a good range there. We do manage to finally knock that Pokemon out, though. Out comes the Ninetales. We are faster than this Pokemon, but we're just missing due to the sand attacks. We managed to make it to Cloyster though, and Cloyster's kind of interesting. Its defense stat is so high that we might be better off just using Fire Punch here. Since Fire Punch is neutrally effective, we just couldn't land any hits to even see what the range looks like. Let's try this one again. So this time I'm going to go ahead and just use Body Slam on the Sand Slash just to see what kind of range we get. Without any boosts, it looks to be about a 4-hit KO. He then gets a critical hit slash on us and knocks us out pretty darn quickly. Of course, a move like Ice Punch would help a lot here. Paralysis also could help in this one, so I'm just going to grind it out a few times to see how it actually goes. Now I think Ninetales is actually a good spot to set up a little bit. Tail Whip is also giving us more badge boosts, but Ember is just too much and we cannot get through that fight. Now, we have a decision to make. We could go and grind some optional battles, or we could use some rare candies here. I'm actually going to opt for the rare candy route because of the fact that we can get access to Ice Punch pretty quickly. Ice Punch has a couple of advantages for us in this one. In fact, I'm going to forget Seismic Toss to learn this move. Number one, it gives us the ability to freeze an opponent. So if we want to set up Badge Boost Glitch, we now just have to try to cheese a freeze on a Pokemon, and then we can use that setup. So here against the rival's Sand Slash, I'm going to go Ice Punch here. We can see that this is going to be an easy 2-hit KO as long as it hits. Of course, he had to Sand Attack us, but now we can get through that Pokemon. We're just going to Body Slam here on the Ninetales. And of course, one Sand Attack is equivalent to like 15 double teams in Gen 1, so we're not going to be able to hit anymore. But now we can see the range on Cloyster. A critical hit took it way below half health. It lands the Clamp on us though, so we're not going to win this one, but still we can see a chance that we might be able to get through here. So this time we get a much better range on the first Sand Slash, and now we can go into the Body Slam spam on the Ninetales. We once again get a Gen 1 miss here, but we took no damage from that Pokemon. Fire Punch on the Cloyster is going to be just fine. I'm actually going to use Agility here though once to make sure we outspeed the next Kadabra. After that, it's a 3-hit KO with the Fire Punch. Kadabra comes out. I'm going to Body Slam it. We did not get the one-hitter, and it actually survived. It got paralyzed, but we're going to have to use 2 Body Slams to knock that Pokemon out. We get to level 39, and now there's nothing better than Body Slam on Jolteon, but it just didn't do enough damage. This time we managed to get the freeze on the Sand Slash on our 7th attempt. So I'm going to set up all the agilities here and then just knock this Pokemon out. We're going to be faster than everything from here now. So we 2-shot there against the Ninetales. We don't get a badge boost in specials, so we're not going to have a better range on the Cloyster by any means, but still it's a 3-hit KO and we took no damage. Now against the Kadabra, we do get the 1-hit KO with our Body Slam. We level up here on Jolteon, so of course we lost our badge boost, but with much better health and a critical hit Body Slam, we're actually going to be able to win this one. He goes double kick after he paralyzed us, but we were easily able to get through that. So as soon as you can get a freeze there on that first Sand Slash, you're basically good to go. You can simply set up the badge boosts and you're good enough to pretty easily get through the team until the Jolteon, and then Jolteon's not that strong at this point, so you can get through it. So now Jesse and James time, where we're just going to kind of spam Body Slam on their Pokemon. Pokemon. I don't know, maybe Ice Punch is better. Yeah, Ice Punch probably would have two-shot here. Still, this is going to be a very easy victory. As we get to level 40, we can move on to Giovanni. And I'm wondering how much we can actually disrespect this trainer. Can we go in poisoned without healing and still win? Let's find out. So first up is his Nidorino. I'm just going to body slam it, and then let's just give it a fire punch to finish it off. Persian, how about some Ice Punch? Just for fun here. He guards specs, so we easily get through. Rhyhorn's out next. It goes down in one Ice Punch. And now we're just going to Ice Punch the Nidoqueen. She body slams, so we couldn't disrespect him that much, clearly. Let's go ahead and get a heal on. Now, we usually never lose to Giovanni number 2, but of course, in this case, we're playing like Bruno because we've got one of Bruno's Pokemon. So a few losses here and there are to be expected. Coming back now, however, after a heal, we can simply go Ice Punch here and a body slam. That's enough for Nidorino. We'll just go back to Ice Punch on the Persian. I like Ice Punch because it has the chance to freeze here. Rhyhorn can get the same treatment, and then back to the Nidoqueen where we get a critical hit and just one-shot it. So the next attempt wasn't even close. We could have gone in without healing that time and won, but still, this wasn't terribly hard once we got access to Ice Punch. But from now, if we're going to progress without optional battles, we have to go and fight against Koga or Sabrina, neither of which I'm super excited about. I am going to choose Sabrina though, because one of her Pokemon can't damage us. It will flash us, but you know, we all like being flashed by Sabrina, and there's at least the chance that her other Pokemon will use Psywave, which is arguably one of the worst moves in Gen 1. So we'll be actually kind of happy if that's the result we get. Anyway, let's see how this goes. Sabrina attempt number 1. So Sabrina sends out her Abra. I'm going to set up Agility first. There's nothing that we can do to stop her from flashing us, and why would we want to anyway? So we'll set up 3 Agilities and then go for the Body Slams. This is kind of an all-in strat where we're hoping that we hit enough Body Slams after she flashes us that we simply take her down. Instead, Psychic one-shots us. Now, Flash isn't perfectly accurate, and she X defends on her Pokemon, so this time we only get 1 Flash, and then we miss. So she gets a second one, and a third one, and a fourth one, and now we finally knock out Abra. We're faster than Kadabra if we can ever land a hit. It is a 1-hit KO, and we're faster than Alakazam. It goes for Reflect and then Psywave. We hit the Body Slam only to be Psychicked down. Without the Reflect though, this would have been a 1-hit KO. So we simply need to get that level of luck where we have the accuracy after we get flashed. This time she misses all the flashes, unfortunately. So we managed to set up 3 Agilities and just 1 shot against the first Abra. It is not a 1-hit KO against Kadabra though, because we don't have as many badge boosts. We make it now to Alakazam, where this is going to be a 2-hit KO, but it's fully paralyzed. So 3 resets there to get through Sabrina. Really not bad for a fighting type Pokemon. An hour, 6 minutes, and 48 seconds to get another gym badge. And we are ready to move on in the game. 18 resets so far. It says 17 optional battles. That's because it knocked some of our optional battles off. But we are through Sabrina here. I think I was on about 25 optional battles, so I just reset that there in my overlay. I'll double check it at the end just to make sure that we're right. But we're somewhere now around the high A tier. This Pokemon has no chance of finishing S tier at this point. So now let's get to Koga. We're going to already outspeed the Venonats. We can use Agility to outspeed Venomoth. So it's just a question of whether we can either A, freeze with Ice Punch, or B, deal enough damage with a move like Fire Punch or Body Slam. Let's test this one out. So Koga's first Venonat comes out. I'm simply going to go for at least 1 Agility here. And now let's go for a Fire Punch. I just want to see the range with this move. It does not quite one-shot. It might be a range there, but now let's just see what Body Slam does instead. Body Slam is close to about half. So Fire Punch is clearly the way to go here against the Venonats. Still, we're going to need a little bit of luck here. We make it to Venomoth on the first attempt though, and we are faster thanks to the agility. Body Slam does about a third here, and we did not get the paralysis. Now I'm going to come back and try this again. Let's see what the ranges are with Fire Punch in the same spot. I say that, but no sooner do I say that than we get a special drop from Psychic on the first Venonat. And basically, if we get a special drop, we already know that that's the end of the fight. They're only going to use Psychic type moves against us, and we're going to get knocked out too quickly. The thing that is pretty clear though is that if all the Venonats just attack, we simply lose here. So the only other option is to try rare candies in order to get through, or to fight some optional battles, because I don't think Mega Kick is going to do enough damage here in order to get us through this fight. So let's try just a couple of rare candies to get to level 43. That gets us access to Thunder Punch, and I'm going to learn Thunder Punch over Body Slam. And we are going to need Thunder Punch in the late game as well as Ice Punch, but Fire Punch is necessary right now. Now we can technically learn something like Mega Kick later on in order to have a stronger normal move if we need it. So I'm actually going to forget the Body Slam and just go all in on Elemental Punches for now. So back again at level 43, Fire Punch now one-shots the first Venonat. We are going to nearly one-shot the second Venonat. We can basically just knock it out with anything from there. Fire Punch, same on the third Venonat, nearly knocks it out in one hit. We get the burn, so it goes down immediately after that. The problem is we needed to set up agility somewhere so we could outspeed the Venomoth. And the best play might be to just go for the freeze on the final Venomoth. Now it is possible to get a one-hit range on the Venonats with our Fire Punch, but like I said, I want to see the Fire Punch range here, but I'm probably going to end up having to reset for the freeze luck. Here we did a little less than half damage, about 40% there, so it would be a 3-hit KO with Fire Punch, and it knocks us out with Psychic, of course. So yeah, freeze, paralysis, those are the only ways to get through. So back to Venomoth. He X attacks this time after we got a critical hit Ice Punch. We're gonna Ice Punch him again, and now we do get the freeze. So just like that, this is now a guaranteed victory as long as we don't Fire Punch him and thaw him out. An hour, 13 minutes, 15 seconds to get through. We've used a bunch of rare candies to get to level 43, but we are now moving on in this run up to 25 resets, and we've added 2 TMs, but I don't think we're gonna add too many more TMs throughout this one. Let's just see how it actually goes. So now we can just say Tombstoner Brothers, and oh, I messed up the quiz. Clearly, I always want to say yes to Tombstoner, but we have to say no this time and just use Elemental Punches against Blaney Boy. So against Blaine, he leads off with Ninetales. I'm going to use Agility to outspeed these Pokemon. And now in Gen 1, Fire does not resist Ice. And in fact, we can freeze Fire-type Pokemon, so I'm going to use this to my advantage. We, of course, don't get the range there. We simply lose that first attempt. But let's try this a couple more times. Still, we are getting completely destroyed by Flamethrower from this Ninetales. We have yet to even see the Rapidash after 3 attempts so far, and it comes down to the fact that we don't get any badge boosts in any of these elemental punches because we don't have a badge boost in special until we manage to beat Blaine. So we're gonna have to learn a physical move here in order to get through this fight. And the best physical move that we have is, of course, Mega Kick. And I'm going to learn it over Fire Punch. We're going to keep Ice Punch and Thunder Punch because I think they're going to be the most useful ones in the end game. And instead, just have Mega Kick on our moveset to see if this allows us to deal enough damage to get through some opponents. And of course, this allows us to get badge boosts in attack as well as being a stronger base power move. So here we did about half damage to the Ninetales after 1 Mega Kick. We get to the Rapidash where we do about the same, about 50% We level up here on the final Arcanine, but we are faster and we did decent enough damage there, about 59 damage. So this would be a 3-hit KO with the Mega Kick on the Arcanine at this point. So we might just want to slam one rare candy in order to make sure we don't level up in the middle of this battle. And that might be enough to get through now. Of course, if we just get 2 flamethrowers in a row from the first Ninetales, we lose either way. Still, after a lot of attempts, there seems to be no better strategy than just to freeze the first Ninetales and then set up all of the agilities here. We can simply knock it out with anything after that. Now against Rapidash, we're going to get an easy 2-hit KO range with our Mega Kick. Arcanine comes out. We miss the first Mega Kick as it goes Reflect. That's not what we wanted to see. So at this point, the best strategy is to try to freeze it. We simply couldn't get the freeze that time and it knocked us out with Fire Blast. So 25 attempts in, we finally get the luck to get that freeze on the first Ninetales, set everything up, still on green health to the Rapidash, and now we just can't hit any Mega Kicks. We finally do knock it out though. We Mega Kick on the Arcanine, it goes Reflect, and then it goes Fire Blast, and there was nothing that we could do. So it's pretty clear that this fight simply doesn't work at our current level, and I think at this point there's no justification for using more rare candies. The only thing we can really do is fight against more trainers to get more levels, because we're going to need those rare candies to manage badge boosts in the late game. The whole issue right now is that we don't have a badge boost in special. Once we have that, freeze plus badge boost glitch will actually be a pretty OP strategy, but for now it's just not quite enough to get through these fights. Fortunately, there are a lot of trainers that give good XP near Cinnabar Island, so I'm simply going to fight these trainers first. And now at level 48, I think the most efficient thing to do is just to blackout grind against Blaine, because at least if we can get through the Ninetales, we'll get decent XP, and this gives us the best chance of getting through at the lowest possible level by just fighting against Blaine over and over again. Still, we're pretty much getting wrecked anytime that he goes for Flamethrower and gets a critical hit, so we can still lose to the first Pokemon. Here at level 49 though, we managed to get to the Arcanine on full health. We get a nice Mega Kick in before it goes Reflect. Still gonna go Mega Kick here just because I think this is the best strategy. If we could get a critical hit, we might win. Flamethrower only took us down to about half health, and it uses Reflect one last time, so just like that, at level 49, we beat Blaine in 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 24 seconds. We might actually have gotten through faster if we still had Body Slam on the moveset, just given the fact that Body Slam would have allowed us to paralyze and then maybe get that extra turn here or there that we needed. But still, we managed to get through. We get a badge boost in special, but we're up to 58 resets, like over half the resets in this run coming on Blaine, trying to get the right luck to get through. And we've taken 46 optional battles with 3 TMs so far in this run. With that, however, we are ready to make it to the late game. Let's go see how we do against Giovanni. And Giovanni might be our first chance to see how much better we are with badge boosts, just given the fact that we are going to be able to boost our special in addition to all of our other stats, and that might be enough. Let's get into it and find out. So Giovanni leads off with Dugtrio. It is faster than us. I'm going to use 1 agility here at least just to get a speed advantage, and then Ice Punch one-shots it. We can go Mega Kick here on the Persian and get a nice critical hit 1-hit KO, and back to Ice Punch on the Nidoqueen. It's going to be a 2-hitter. We get paralyzed by a Thunder, but we do knock it out the next turn. We get to level 51 as Nidoking comes out. I'm going to use an agility here. We got knocked out by a Thunder, but the reason to use agility is it would actually increase our speed stat back above what we had previously, just because of the glitch of how agility works when you're paralyzed. So let's try this one again. Of course, we get a nice dig this time from the Dugtrio, so I'm just going to go for 2 agilities, but a critical hit dig is enough to knock us out. This time he misses Fissure, however, so we're going to knock out Dugtrio on full health, Back to Persian, we can see that the Mega Kick needed a crit to one-shot here. We still get a 2-hit KO. Next, we get a nice crit on the Nidoqueen, but it is not a one-hitter. Still takes 2 hits to knock that Pokemon out. Against the Nidoking, we freeze it, however, so that Pokemon's going down. Out comes the final Rhydon, and Ice Punch is not a one-hitter here. We should have set up the additional agilities on that Nidoking when it was frozen. I thought we wouldn't need them. Turns out Ice Punch still isn't that good at this point in the game. So we managed to freeze Nidoking on the next attempt. So here I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. I'm going to set up the rest of my agilities and then Ice Punch that one down. And now Rhydon is a one-hit KO with a crit. I'm not sure if the crit mattered, if we would have gotten the range, but we managed to win in 4 attempts against Giovanni. An hour, 40 minutes, 26 seconds to get through all 8 gyms. It doesn't sound great. I know it doesn't sound great, but when you consider that this Hitmonchan has much higher special than a normal Hitmonchan, I think this should just give you an idea of how bad a normal Hitmonchan would be in this entire run. There were plenty of moves so far in this run where we would not have survived with a 35 base special, but 110 base special is just enough to get us through. Still, we're all the way down in the B tier at this point at best. We're probably going to lose more points as we go through on my scoring system because there's going to be more resets and we may even have to do more grinding. I don't know. For now, though, we are going to get out of here. We are going to go heal up and try to fight our rival and see if we can make our way to the Elite Four without any additional grinding. So against the rival, I'm going to start off by setting up at least one agility. We just have to make sure that we outspeed the Kadabra later on. Ice Punch one-shots. Here we can get a one-hit KO on Execute. I'm going to set up another couple of agilities here on the Ninetales, but actually not because we're going to level up right here. Cloyster's out next. Thunderpunch nearly gets the one-hitter. I think it will get 2 hits here, but I'm going to set up my last agility just to be safe. Mega Kick on the Kadabra, of course. And now on Jolteon, we don't really have anything good. I'm going to go Mega Kick just because it should do the most damage. Oh, but this one wants to use agility because of the fact that we are a fighting type. Okay, so we can do anything and just win there. Turns out that the Jolteon team, at least on Rival 6, is pretty easy when you have a fighting type Pokemon because he's just going to want to use agility there. Still, he does not have that move on his final moveset at the end of the game, so we're gonna have to hope to dodge some Thunders at the end of this one if we're going to get through. And I think we have basically our final moveset. Like, you could argue in a couple spots maybe for adding on the move Submission, but in general, I think that we're just fine with Mega Kick because anything that we would want to use Submission on, we pretty much would want to use one of our elemental punches on, and they're going to be super effective too. So we're probably better off just not even messing with that move. I will go to the power plant and get another rare candy though, just so that we have as many as possible to try to avoid taking any more optional battles in this one. Now, of course, if this were Pokemon Red and Blue, the Elite Four is actually a lot easier because like 2 of Lorelei's Pokemon will never attack against a fighting type, and then 3 of Lance's Pokemon will never attack against a fighting type. So there are a lot of ways to just cheese fights in Pokemon Red and Blue. It's one of the biggest differences between Red and Blue solo runs versus Pokemon Yellow solo runs is there are no free battles in the Elite Four in Pokemon Yellow. In Pokemon Red and Blue, there were some that were effectively free if you could manage to get there with fighting or poison type Pokemon. So now it's just a question if Hitmonchan is going to be able to make this work though without any additional optional battles. If we do run into trouble, I think we'll just be grinding against Lorelei. Lorelei's AI is changed. She will not simply spam rest infinitely against a fighting type with her Dugong, but she still uses rest more often than other moves. So we can cheese her a little bit. We can deal a little damage, let the Dugong just start resting, and then use that as our time to set up badge boosts, etc. in order to try to get through this one. We're coming in with 6 rare candies, so we have enough rare candies to use 1 between every Elite Four member. We could still have a few more in the bag just in case if we actually need to level up for something. We're pretty close to a level up here against Lorelei, so I'm not sure. We might need to go for the rare candy here to badge boost against the Dugong, but I'm going to try it without one time. Let's just see how it looks. So first up against this Dugong, I'm going to intentionally just deal very little damage to it turn 1. Just an Ice Punch is perfectly fine because she's very likely to rest after that. And then we can just do the same thing again, and this will let us set up our last agility. So we're definitely faster than everything now. Now we can go for the Thunder Punch and get an easy 2-hit KO there. We do level up after that Pokemon. We could learn Counter. We're not going to learn Counter. It's a trash move. So now we'll just go Thunder Punch on Cloyster. It's an easy 2-hit KO. Stick with the Thunder Punch here on the Slowbro. Psychic pretty much destroys us though. I think with the badge boost we'd be fine. Once we get to Jinx, we can simply Mega Kick. We miss. So that's all she wrote for that one. Let's slap on 1 rare candy so that we don't lose our badge boosts after the first Pokemon. Once again, we can deny learning Counter because we don't need it. And let's try this one again. So once again, the strategy is just to kind of cheese her into using Rest with her Dugong so we get all the setup off. Now with all of our badge boosts in, we'll simply go for the attacks to knock that Pokemon out. Cloyster's out next. We actually one-shot now with our Thunder Punch. Against Slowbro, it's about 2/3. So even after this Pokemon goes for the Amnesia, I think Thunder Punch knocks it out. It does. We're on full health to Jinx. Mega Kick one-shots. Lapras is out next. We do not level up here, so we can go Thunder Punch. We get a critical hit, but this is still a 2-hit KO to get through that Pokemon. So we easily get through once we add on that rare candy just to prevent us from losing our badge boosts. Now it's on to Bruno. I don't think he's going to be hard. Let's find out. So I do think this is a good spot to badge boost Glitch, and his first Onix can't really do anything to us. So we're simply going to set up 3 badge boosts and then just Ice Punch that Pokemon down. Against Hitmonchan, we could really go a lot of ways, but I'm going to go for the Mega Kick here. It's going to be a 2-hit KO to knock that Pokemon out. Hitmonlee is out next. Hitmonlee has low special because we didn't edit it in this one, so we just Ice Punch it down. Ice Punch will do the job on Onix, and then let's just stick with the same move on the Machamp. It looks like a 3-hitter. He used Leer though, so we easily win and get to level 55. So yeah, Bruno, joke. We knew that he would be, but now we have to take on Agatha, and this is the trainer that we actually do have to worry a little bit about. She does know Psychic with her final Gengar. Of course, if we get put to sleep, we could also face up against some Dream Eater from the Haunter, and we don't have any super effective moves. So this one's going to be tough. Let's find out how tough after watching her kill Ash's Pikachu in the anime. I'm going to set up all the agilities on this first Gengar just because I think for damage ranges, we're actually going to need this. We can start going Thunder Punch here. We actually break the substitute. I'm going to go Ice Punch when this Gengar's not behind a substitute just because it gives us a chance to freeze. Against Golbat, I think Thunder Punch is perfectly fine. It leech lives, that's nothing to us. But now we're going to go back to the Ice Punch here on the Haunter because if we ever do freeze, then this is going to be a free Pokemon. She swaps to Arbok. We can even Mega Kick this Pokemon. We probably should have Mega Kicked from the beginning. We knock out Haunter. We're to the final Gengar where it goes Psychic and we lose. But again, this is where we just simply have to use the Ice Punch. I think we can manage to get through eventually. So this time she swaps to Golbat. So I'm simply going to Ice Punch this Pokemon. We get a nice critical hit to one-shot there. She swaps back to Gengar after it goes down. And we're going to just spam Ice Punch again, trying to get a freeze here. Being confused is kind of bad, but we do manage to get through this. We get paralyzed though. That's probably all she wrote for this one. Funny enough, we are still faster than some Pokemon even after the paralysis though. We're not going to outspeed any ghosts, but we did outspeed Arbok. She swaps to the Gengar and goes Dream Eater while we're still awake. And now she confuses us. We manage to avoid the confusion and freeze the Gengar. If we don't hit ourselves in confusion, we will win. But we hit ourselves in confusion, so we go down. Come on. Seriously, we had the win right in our lap and we couldn't manage to win because, you know, Hitmonchan. So after a lot of attempts, this one's clearly just not happening. We have 5 rare candies in the bag though, so I'm gonna add 3 of them on right here and just see if that gives me enough to manage to get through. Now the big difference at this level is that we of course deal more damage with our badge boosts. So we managed to get 2 Gengar on green health this time. Well, of course, we are paralyzed, and now we're confused. And Hitmonchan is very confused about everything, of course, and it gets knocked down by Psychic. So this one's definitely not going to be consistent at anything near this level. In order to win this fight consistently, you'd basically have to get to the point where you're just outspeeding and one-shotting everything though. This time we freeze Haunter, so we're going to get through that Pokemon for free. Mega Kick is going to not quite one-shot the Arbok, but we can get the 2-hit range. And back to the final Gengar, it misses Hypnosis, and then it goes Psychic. One more hit would have knocked it out. Back to Gengar again though, 15 attempts on Agatha. We finally get a freeze with green health without any confusion, and now we can just do anything we want, and we're finally going to win. We should have won like 11 attempts ago, but I guess we'll take it. We managed to beat Agatha after using 3 rare candies as well, and in this next fight we're gonna level up on the first Gyarados. So I think we just have to use a rare candy here. I don't know. I'll go in without it first. Let's just see what the ranges look like. But we're going to have to outspeed that Aerodactyl no matter what we do if we're going to get through this one. So the question here is entirely like, what are the damage ranges with our elemental punches after our setup? Let's try Thunderpunch here. We do one-shot the first Gyarados. Very nice. Out comes the first Dragonair. I'm going to Agility here and then go Ice Punch. We're now fast enough to outspeed the Aerodactyl, and we one-shot there. We are going to not quite one-shot the second Dragonair. I'm going to set up a second Agility and now just knock that one out. Aerodactyl, we go Ice Punch and just miss the range to one-shot it. So we needed another Agility if we're going to get through this one consistently. It had 5 HP remaining. That might even be a range for all I know, but somehow we're going to try to get through this one. So let's try this one again. Thunder Punch again on Gyarados, still gets the 1-hit KO. And now we're going to go for the 3 Agilities here. We get a Hyper Beam from this Dragonair, but it shouldn't matter if we can just get the 1-hit ranges from here. So we knock out both Dragonairs, back to Aerodactyl. Ice Punch does one-shot there. And now against the Dragonite, Ice Punch one-shots, and we get to level 60 as we go into the champion. So level 60 to get to this point, we still have 2 rare candies in the bag. I'm not going to use them just yet. I'm going to heal up once. I'm going to see what the ranges are. The big reason is because sometimes they affect where we level up in this final battle if we use the rare candies, and we might lose out on a good spot to set up our badge boosts. Not sure. Let's try this one. We're definitely going to have to badge boost, I think, at the beginning of the fight, though, because that Alakazam is going to be scary. But let's find out. So against the champion, I think the best play is to Ice Punch once on his Sand Slash, see if we can get the freeze. We did not. So now I'm going to go for the Agilities, and we're clearly not going to survive if he goes all in on attack on us. So we have to at least set up 1 Agility to outspeed the Alakazam. That's the only way we're getting through that Pokemon. So one way or the other, we have to do something. I still think we lead with an Ice Punch. We actually got a crit this time. Not exactly what we wanted to see, but we get Kinesis from Alakazam. It follows up with the Psychics though, and we simply could not survive. We survived 1 Psychic, which is kind of surprising to me, but I guess that's the whole reason we gave extra special here. Still, we're gonna need to get better luck than that to get this setup off. So Fury Swipes or Poison Sting will be at least better from this first Sand Slash. So those are the moves that we're actually kind of hoping for. So here we actually managed to set up all 3 agilities. We one-shot then on the Sand Slash. Mega Kick is going to one-shot the Alakazam. We can go Ice Punch here on Exeggutor. We get a crit, and then it puts us to sleep and Leech Seeds us. We wake up. We have just a little HP after the Stomp. Cloyster, we Thunder Punch and get the 1-hit KO range. Mega Kick was the plan on the Ninetales, but it quick attacked us to knock us out. Still, if we can get that sort of setup, we might be able to get this to go, especially if we don't get a random critical hit on that Exeggutor. But I don't know, I think Exeggutor is probably still going to survive there, just because we've seen already that Exeggutor is kind of a tank. Like, if a max stats Mewtwo with Ice Beam doesn't one-shot there, I don't think our Hitmonchan has any shot of one-shotting that Pokemon. So I don't think there's any point in messing around anymore. Let's go ahead and just use the last 2 rare candies here, just so that we have as much HP and as good a stats as we possibly can at this point, and see if this turns out to be enough to get through. So first things first, I'm going to try to just go 1 agility and then knock out that Sand Slash. Let's see what the Mega Kick does here. It does get the 1-hitter. On Exeggutor, we can go back to the Ice Punch. It's going to always want to use Hypnosis on us because of our type weakness to Psychic. It doesn't matter in Gen 1 that it is a non-damaging move. It's simply going to use that. So we've got to get better luck so that it doesn't manage to put us to sleep. Still, it generally seems to be the play to just set up 1 agility at the start of the fight and then just sweep the first 2 Pokemon. And if we could ever get a freeze here against the Exeggutor or get it to miss with Hypnosis, we should be able to get through on decent enough health to maybe get through the rest of the team. We would need 2 agilities, however, to one-shot the Cloyster with a Thunder Punch. So at that point, we probably want to see if we can get 1 more agility off. So now with 2 agilities, if we use Ice Punch, we still didn't get a good range here on the Exeggutor, unfortunately, so we're probably going to lose this one. So I'm going to base how many agilities to use off of the Sand Slash's move. If it goes Slash, there's not much we can do, but here we get Fury Swipes after that. So we did set up 2 agilities. We get to knock that Pokemon out. Mega Kick on the Alakazam. Ice Punch on the Exeggutor, and it misses the Hypnosis. That's what we wanted. We knock it out in 2 hits. Cloyster, we can go Thunder Punch and get the nice 1-hitter there. We're going to Mega Kick on the Ninetales and miss. We hit the next one though, it does over half. Now we're confused though, and we're hitting ourselves in confusion, so we go down. This time we get back to the Ninetales, but we're poisoned. We do manage to hit the Mega Kick, and I'm going to just Thunder Punch this Pokemon down. We get to level 63, and we're faster than Jolteon. We miss the Mega Kick, so we didn't even get to see the range against the final Pokemon, and it just looks like Jolteon is laughing at us because we thought we could somehow get through this fight. This time we get a miss from Hypnosis from Exeggutor though, so we get to get back to that Ninetales. All of the agilities are set up here. It goes for the Fire Spin, but we get released, so we get to knock it out. Back to Jolteon at level 63. Mega Kick does over half, and it paralyzed us, so it is faster the next turn, but it goes for Quick Attack, and we managed to finally win. 2 hours and 11 minutes and 30 seconds here. 2 hours 11:29 effectively. And yeah. Was our Hitmonchan very good? No. There's a reason I named it Hitmon-san rather than Hitmonchan, because chan in Japanese is kind of like a, you know, it's used to denote that you feel like close to somebody, or that you care about them, you like them. You know, my wife calls me Teo-chan, we call our baby Kat-chan, whereas san puts a little more distance socially between you, right? It's not a term of endearment. So yeah, this Hitmon-san 2 hours and 11 minutes, definitely not top tier. So while it does beat the game, it's nowhere near minimum battles. It was nowhere near not needing TMs. This Pokemon is still pretty bad. Like, my first idea when I started this was, oh, I'll come back and I'll do a second run on minimum battles where I'll beat the game with just the elemental punches. No. It's not going to get anywhere close to that. At the end of the game, you're just resetting for so much luck if you're not taking optional battles there. Really, you'd be better off just grinding against Lorelei and Bruno over and over and over again until you get enough levels that you just automatically one-shot most of the champions Pokemon. You're always going to be resetting to not get the hypnosis, but yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. Now, of course, with speedrunning strats, without, you know, talking like me as I'm doing this at 4 times speed on the emulator, you would get a much better time than this. Don't get me wrong, I could probably cut easily 30 minutes off of this if I wasn't talking and explaining things at the same time. But yeah, it's still not good. So that really raises the question, Professor Oak, usually we come here to complete his research, but now I'm really just wondering, can we beat any of the Professor Oaks with this Hitmonchan without going and leveling up? Let's take on the one that I think, keyword think, will be the easiest. Let's fight against the Venusaur team and see if we can somehow manage to win. So of course he leads off with Tauros. Tauros is faster than us. I'm going to go agility first. And now I think there's nothing better to do than the Ice Punch because it has lower special. With a critical hit, it looks like we're going to get the 2-hit range there. Exeggutor's out next. We do less than half with our Ice Punch. Now he's stomping on us. Oh, come on. The disrespect from Professor Oak, just stomping on poor Hitmonchan. And then the second attempt, he goes takedown into Rage. Once he goes Rage, I think the best thing to do is simply to spam all of the agilities so that we get as much stat boost as possible. Now we did about half to the Exeggutor. It just barely survives, but we froze it, so we get to knock it out the next turn. Arcanine comes out. We don't have anything good against this Pokemon. It would be a massive difference if these fighting types could learn like Earthquake or Dig in this generation, but they do not. Basically, you're just stuck sitting here trying to use normal and fighting type moves rather than getting the best physical moves in the game. So I think we basically need the Tauros to go Rage turn 1 just so that we can do all the setup. Of course, missing a Tail Whip is nice too. Okay, there he goes Rage. And he's just critical hitting all the Rages. Are you kidding me? 3 crits in a row, 4 crits in a row. Oh, the legend, Professor Oak. He knows how to break Gen 1, guys. Clearly, he's been playing some competitive Pokemon with this Tauros. This time we managed to not get the crazy crits though, so we should be able to 2-shot this Pokemon one way or the other. Onto Exeggutor now with all of the badge boosts in, it still manages to put us to sleep. So there's simply no way that we're getting through this one, I don't think. Not even through the first 2 Pokemon on Professor Oak's team. So he's just gonna look at us with his face that looks kind of like he's just filled with disappointment. Like it might just be me, but as a kid, the way that his face looked didn't look very happy. He looks like he's frowning at us, just like, I gave you a Hitmonchan because I didn't like you at the beginning of this whole adventure. I just wanted you to get out of my office. It makes me buy into the theory that Professor Oak is actually the leader of Team Rocket, not Giovanni. Anyway, that does it for this one. Hitmonchan beats the game at level 63, but it does not beat Professor Oak. And that's kind of the story of this whole run. It is improved by having higher special, but it's still not enough. And its moveset is not enough. And there's really nothing that we can do about it because pretty much all of the TMs that we could learn that we don't already have somewhere in this run are either worse moves or broken moves. And yeah. So Hitmonchan, better but still bad. That does it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoy. I'll see you in the next one. Later.